Today is the wonderful topic, the most favorite of all. It is Rigveda Samhita. So I will start with mantra, the Shanti Patha of Rigveda Samhita, which is kind of posted in Aitareya Brahmana. But every time you start talking about Rigveda, you must read this Shanti Patha. Let me project it for you. Om ॐ वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य म आणीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिः अनेनाधीतेन होरात्रान् समदधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So if we just look into this mantra for a second, we will see that how to translate it. Vang me manasi pratisthita. My speech is established in my mind. Mano me vachi pratishtitam. And my mind is established in my speech. Aviravirma edi. Be revealed to me, be revealed to me. That means speech and mind. Vedasyama ani stha. Your two foundation stones, let us translate like this, of the Veda, of knowledge. So mind and speech. In the Brahmanic literature, it is heaven and earth. Mind is heaven, the meaning, and the word is the expression of that meaning, earth, constituting the whole knowledge. There are two foundation stones of the Veda. Shrutam me ma prahasihi, and what was revealed to me, don't leave me. Anena adhitena horatran samdadhami. Anena adhitena, by that learned, ahoratran samdadhami, I collect days and nights. Ritam vadishyami, I shall speak the truth. Satyam vadishyami, I shall speak the truth. Now, the truth has two names, Arithm and Satyam. Arithm is the dynamic truth, the truth of becoming, and Satyam is the static truth, the truth of being. Tanmamavatu, may that strengthen me, increase me, or grow within me. Tadvaktaramavatu, may that grow within the speaker, within the one who expresses this truth. Avatumam, increase me. Avatu vaktaram, strengthen the speaker. Avatu vaktaram, strengthen the speaker. I translate increase or strengthen, though in the dictionary you will find also meaning of protecting. But protect me means grow within me, fill me in from within, and thus I will be protected. So you can see that this mantra is Shantipatha of the Rigveda, is totally psychological. It's not a religious mantra. There are no gods here to invoke or worship. It's about speech and mind, which is quite rare. We rarely find somebody who has speech and mind in the same place. Usually we say something and think something else. We never say what we think and never think what we say. Right. So to have it in one place and to make it a foundation of the higher knowledge is actually a solution, psychological solution for all our problems, actually. So about Rigveda, what is this Rigveda about? Do you know anything about it, by the way? I want to see your faces. Otherwise, I'm speaking to the screen. No? Something you must know. Rigveda is the foundation of all Indian culture. How come? There must be something there. Of course, you know only Brahmins in the temples. You hear this sometimes from the loudspeakers, in the village. That's the only thing. Or in the temples when you see they do the yagyas or the marriage ceremony, you hear once in a while, no?
Yeah, Ritu has something.
Marriage, yes, it's the only only place where the Rigveda is survived. In the marriage ceremony, the hymn to the mm, to the marriage of Soma and Surya. Usually, this hymn is recited. By the way, the hymn itself is the uh, the creation by Savitri Rishika. So Rishika, not Rishi, but female Rishi, Rishika Savitri, composed this hymn, by the way. Most recited in India. It's quite interesting to know. Mm. So Rigveda Samhita is the oldest text of all, maybe on the whole earth. There is there are references to Rigveda everywhere. In the Yajurveda, Samaveda is 80% Rigvedic hymns. You see the references in all the Brahmanas, in all the Upanishads, and so on. Puranas, they're all referring to the Veda, all the Shastras, um, all Smriti literature, Mahabharata, Ramayana, all refer to the Rigveda. But in the Rigveda, you don't find any other reference to any other text. So and this is how we know that it is the oldest. Rigveda does not refer to Taittiriya Samhita or to Yajnavalkya Samhita and so on. So there are four major Vedas, as you know, most probably. Yes, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda. The oldest is Rigveda. So each Veda was assigned by Brahmanas to a particular form, to a particular fire, to a particular action, so to say. But it is later. It is a ritualistic assignment, which we find today in India very important. So Rigvedic hymns were recited by Hotar, and the oblation into the Garhapatya fire was made. Garhapatya fire is the fire of the householder, so which was located in the Vedi, in the altar. It was located to the east, in the direction of the east. I don't want to go to the ritualism too much with you, but better I come back to the text itself, because we have limited time, and this kind of explanation of the ritual can take all our time. So Rigveda belongs to earth, according to Brahmanas. Yajurveda to space between heaven and earth, Antariksha. Samaveda belongs to heaven. And Atharva Veda is, so to say, belongs to nobody and nowhere. It's quite interesting because originally there was Trividya, three Vedas, and Atharva Veda joined later. Though Atharva Veda is very archaic, very old, and sometimes even scholars say that it is older than Rig Veda, some hymns at least. But still, it joined the party of Trividya much later. So The dating of Rigveda, we do not know. There are many very different datings. For example, Gonda, the scholar from Holland, says that Rigveda is um, written 4,500 BC, maybe composed. Tilak, Gangadhar Tilak says that it is at least 6,000 BC because he found the references in Taittiriya Samhita where there is um, a mentioning of constellations in such a way that when you are very good Jyotishi, you can trace back when you're astronomer and find that time. And it is the time of 6,000 BC in Taittiriya. So if Taittiriya is 6,000 BC, what to say about Rigveda? So Rigveda is much older than Taittiriya. So we do not know the time of the composition. Most probably it doesn't matter even, most probably, because the topics, the hymns are timeless. So it belongs to the timeless matters. It will be always relevant for us. So mm, Rigveda. So what it is all about? We know about it very superficially that these are hymns to some devatas, godheads, and invoking the powers of nature, the forces of nature, worshiping the forces of nature, worshiping the sun, the moon, the rain, the wind, the lightning, the rivers, mountains, uh, and so on. But truly speaking, with our mind, which is actually separating mind, always dividing everything and seeing spirit separate from nature, we do not see the very gist, the very truth of the Rig Veda, which is viewing the world as embodiment of the spirit. Can you imagine if you are born from the beyond, you are coming as an immortal spirit into this world, and then you see the sun rising. Can you imagine an impression you may have? So you believe that everything is divine, and then you see the sun rising and setting and shining and the rain falling. So you find behind every event, every natural event, the power, the spiritual power, which it represents. We are all here symbolic representations of some powers, yeah, which are hidden, which are not known to us. But not all. The ancient rishis, they saw that connection of the spiritual presence and the embodiment of that spiritual presence in nature, in the universe. If you look at our universe and our endless, infinite universe, with so many galaxies, with billions of galaxies, within each galaxy there are billions of stars. Just think for a second, what can be more marvelous than that? And to say that it has nothing to do with the spirit would be quite a challenging task. It can't be but related to that infinite spirit, infinite uh, being behind it. Otherwise, why? What for? What's the purpose, reason, meaning? Just like that, out of the blue, nothing better to do. The guess, what guess? Where from? Why guess suddenly? Why not something else? So all this material embodiment has its origin somewhere in the spirit. So the Vedic rishis viewed this from that perspective, and they discovered first that there is a hidden power within us, and that is the power of constant growth, of constant moving forward, of will to be. That was the first discovery, the greatest discovery, by the way. that the whole nature is not just existing, but it is existing in time in such a way that it evolves, it grows, it seeks its highest expression. Why? Why it should seek its highest expression? Why don't it stay where it is? No, it grows, it changes constantly. And that force, that power they called Agni. Agni is the divine will in nature. Agni is flaming up to heaven, constantly seeking heavenly fulfillment, pushing everyone forward, leading everyone forward in evolutionary journey. He is Purohita, the one put in front of our journey. The human beings, the man, was seen as the ever-advancing pilgrim, as Sri Aurobindo translates it from the Rigveda. Ever-advancing pilgrim. We are constantly on the way, moving forward, constantly rising. So now I wanted to project the first hymn of the Rigveda. First, I wanted to give you the kind of much more, but I see that we are very limited in time, and I would rather answer your questions than just overload you with metaphysics. So I will take the first hymn of the Rigveda and show you a few things. First hymn of the Rigveda is in a way like in the nutshell, you see the whole vision of what Vedic rishis want to express. And it starts with these words, Agnim ile. I seek Agni, the divine will, with adoration. I seek the divine will with adoration. Can you imagine? I seek the power which is pushing forward the whole nature, which is making evolution possible, which is pushing us to utmost expression of the divine qualities in us with adoration and love. First two words, Purohitam, the one who is put in front, Purah Hitam, established in front of our journey. He is the leader. He leads us forward. We all follow him, as it were. Yajnasya Devam, the God, the shining being of the sacrifice. Yajnasya. So Yajna, the sacrifice, is the major topic, is the major concept of the Veda. Yajna is the transformation of our nature, is a constant change and transformation from the gross nature to the subtle nature, from the darker to the lighter, from the heavier to the loftier, from the more material to more spiritual. It's a constant pervasiveness or constant presence of the gods and gods as divine powers, as powers which are coming down here to transform our nature and widening the scope of our possibilities here in the material body. So he is the Lord of the sacrifice. He is the one who provides this change in us. Ritvijam, he is the Ritvik, the one who sacrifices each ritu according to the season, according to the proper time. So he knows the procedure, he knows the order of the sacrifice, he knows how to change us, what to change first, what to change next. He knows the procedure. Otherwise, we can make many mistakes. We can start with changes which cannot help us because we didn't change the foundation. So he builds up the whole building from the foundation up. He doesn't change first the roof and then the bottom. So he knows the way how to change our consciousness. Hotaram, him I adore, who is the summoner of the gods. Hotar is the one who invokes the divine powers, who brings them into action. There are many divine powers: the power of the mind, the power of the will, of perception, of the word, of the action, of the healing, and so on and so forth. There are numerous powers, and all these powers will be named as gods. We can go through them one day and see what they really represent. Because Rigveda speaks about this psychology in universal terms. We can say that Rigveda is the psychology of universals. Rigveda doesn't speak about psychology in individual terms, but from the point of view of universal divine powers, which are influencing not only human beings, but also animal kingdom, plants, minerals, and the whole universe. They're acting in the universe, and human beings also included. And so he's Hotar, who brings all the divine forces into action here. He actually sacrifices here the gods, and we will see it all the time in the Rigveda. Not we sacrifice to the gods, but he, Agni, sacrifices here the gods. He brings those lofty powers of consciousness, of universal consciousness, into this darker and narrower hemisphere where they don't feel comfortable and they have to fight here through and to widen the scope of our consciousness. And he is at the end Ratnadhatamam, the one who most establishes here the riches, the spiritual riches. He is the establisher of spiritual riches in our being. Now you can see the whole line, one line, it was one verse. I adore, I seek Agni, the divine will with adoration, who is put in front of our journey, who is the Lord of our transformation and knows how to do it in time, who brings all the divine forces for action here within our consciousness, and who establishes most of the riches. So it's basically the full picture of what Agni does, what this divine will in us does. Sri Aurobindo associates Agni with aspiration. And you know this word, most probably you heard about it. Aspiration. This is what something in us aspires to be better, wants to find its fulfillment in the higher consciousness. And this aspiration is a universal power. It is present in the whole nature. It's not only the power in our soul, in the heart. Usually we associate this power of Agni with the flame in the heart, especially in the later literature. We speaks about the psychic flame. You most probably had sessions with Nietzsche on psychic being. That flame in the heart is this Agni. But that flame in the heart is only a spark from this universal Agni, which is present all over through all nature. So Mother speaks about the psychic presence in nature, and that is Agni. And once it is being individualized, then it is that spark, that divine presence in our heart, which becomes individual and growth and becomes more and more individualized until it is totally formed and come to the front. But in the Rigveda, Agni is this universal deity which pushes everything and everyone towards its fulfillment. So Agnif purvebhih rishibhih idio nutanai ruta sadevan eha vakshati. Agni should be adored by the first and modern rishis. It's quite interesting. Should be adored, should be sought with adoration by the first and by the modern rishis. Now, modern rishis of the Rigveda, it is in this time when the rishi speaks about modern rishis. So there were ancient rishis before, which he mentions here. And even by them, Agni is to be worshipped again and again. So it seems for us, for our mind, which looks at the world in time and space, so we think how first rishis can worship Agni now, how by ancient rishis Agni should be worshipped. But they are still present, though they are ancient from the beginning of time. In their plane, they are present and they are there waiting, as Sri Aurobindo says, always to assist our journey, to help us out in our difficult ascent towards the fulfillment. Sadevan eha vakshati, may he brings here the gods. Agni brings all the divine powers into action within our material frame. And then Agni Naraim Ashnavat Posham Eva Dive Dive Yashasam Viravattamam. By Agni, one should enjoy and realize the spiritual wealth. One should realize the wealth by Agni only. By aspiration, you should seek your fulfillment. Posham eva, and your growth, dive dive, you should seek by Agni only. Yashasam, and your glory, viravattamam, full of power. That has to be sought by Agni, by aspiration, not by other means. Many people seek fulfillment and realization by other means. You know, by kind of manipulation, by thinking out, by planning, by doing this and that. Let me kind of arrange everything in such a way that things will be favorable to me and not favorable to my competitors, and so on and so forth. This is not the way. The way is aspiration for the higher and higher consciousness. And we can realize all our wealth by those means and growth. Agneyam yajnamadhvaram vishvatav paribhurasi saidevesho gacchati. O Agni, which offering you take from all sides, take totally without any remainder, that indeed goes to the gods. That indeed is absorbed by the gods. The gods become part of that offering. Suppose we want to offer something in our life. We want to change one part of our being. We want to get rid of certain influences of lower forces, desires, preferences, fears, and so on, anxieties. So we make an offering to this fire in us, to this flame in the heart, and casting that offering into that flame of the divine will in us, holding it in that light, totally, without remainder, without the gap, without something left for us for later, maybe it will come back again. Then that totally may change, goes to the gods and transforms into its divine prototype. Everything here is just a distortion of the divine properties. Every single bit, whatever we don't like, it's just misplacement of the divine truth. So it needs to find its own proper place, its proper time, its proper context in which it plays its right divine role. And that particular force and abilities, or that power behind it, is called Ritam. Ritam as the dynamic truth, which finds things in their proper location and it's their divine proper usage. So to find that, we have to offer it. We have to offer it to the divine is aspiration in us. Mother speaks about interesting things, that there are two ways of getting rid of difficulties. She says that one way is to reject them. And if you are going to reject them, you have to persist. You have to go, for example, you have some thoughts which you want to get rid of, and they are always troubling you. So you have to push that thought from the mental realm to the vital, and it is confirmed by Sri Aurobindo, by the way, and from the vital to the subtle physical, and from subtle physical to the subconscious, it's from subconscious to the inconscient. But this is a lot of work, and it is not for sure that it will not kind of pop up again, because in a very particular occasion it may come back. But she says there is another method, the method to take this undesired thing when it is there, not to reject it, but to invite it, as it were, yeah, and make an offering. Take it and keep it in the light of your highest consciousness. Keep it there. Let it be visible to it. And she says it will try to slip away. It will try to run to hide. You will feel how it will be trying to get out of that light. But if you are persistent, if you are powerful enough and hold it there in that light, it may be taken by the light and it will not trouble you again. It will be transformed. It will find its proper place. It will find its proper um, um, divine utility, because it was just misplaced, misused. What is adharma? What is dharma? Dharma is a proper usage. Yeah? Adharma is misplacement, constant misplacement. That's what Mother says about the desire. The desire is nothing but a fancying, a misplacement, taking one thing into the context which it should not be. And so once you take one thing and put it into the context where it is not to be, then it creates this kind of strange force which you have to feel and apply to hold it there. So you are kind of breaking the flow of things. You create a dharmic movement, and you how to say, you get out of it some kind of enjoyment, because you are violating the truth of the existence in your own way. So to say, you enjoy the world in your own way. You do not see the truth anymore. You don't want the truth. You want this particular sense of enjoyment, and that is the desire. It's a constant misplacement of the truth. If we put everything into its place, there would be no desire. Well, since you are a psychologist, and it's the most important topic of desire, if you know Mahabharata well, you remember when Pandavas came to the lake, and Yudhishthira was asked the question by the spirit of the lake, and he said, "If you answer right, you will be free. If not, you will be here forever, my prisoners." So the question was, what is that losing which you lose nothing? What is that losing which you lose nothing? And Yudhishthira answered correctly, desire. Desire is that losing which you lose nothing. We are so engraved into thinking that desire is the purpose of life, that without desire there is no life, that without desire the life is dull and boring and so on. But it is absolutely not true. We are misled. Desire is an obstacle. In the Gita, Sri Krishna speaks to Arjuna directly. Desire is the enemy. Kill the enemy. It leads you astray. It leads you away from yourself. You are caught into something which you are not. You're constantly misplacing the truth. So bring here the gods. When the gods come here, they place things in the right position so you can enjoy yourself to be kind of um, finally something. Enjoy, I say the word because you remember we spoke about happiness a bit. That happiness thing, it's actually, yes, built on desire, understanding of realization of desires. But desires can't be really satisfied. You cannot satiate the desire. It is something which is very difficult to satisfy. uh, Dhammapada, Buddha in Dhammapada says that even the rain of golden coins cannot satisfy the desire. So, more you have, more you want to have. It is not something which we are seeking. It's a curse of some kind. It is the vital hunger in the vital world, which is kind of entering us and demanding from us something we don't need, truly speaking. We need to find ourselves, our true selves, and that would be true happiness. And then hymn continues, Agni Hota Kavi Kratuh Satyashchitrash Sravastamach Devo Deve Bhir Agamat. Agni is the summoner. He has the power of the seer. He is true. He brings the most varied, the most conscious inspirations. God with the gods. Come, God with the gods. Maybe I will stop here. Actually, this hymn is profound because it has a particular structure in it, which I don't have time to cover today. The structure of rising of Agni to heaven and coming down with the gift of heaven. But it ends very beautifully. Sanaf pite vasunave agne supayano bhava sachasvana suastaye. Be to us as father to son, easily available. Lead us to the felicity. Now, this father to son, we are his children of Agni. We are the sparks of that fire, our souls, our psychic beings. And we want that universal energy to support our growth. Our sparks are to grow into flames, and flames are to grow into the whole universe. And we have to expand our presence and become universal. Lead us, Sachasvana Suhastaye, to the perfect existence. Suhasti. Okay, I stop here and open, questions and answers session would be more interesting, I guess. I will stop projection.
Yeah. Does anyone have questions, Rinko?
Yeah, so Vladimir, it is a pleasure. I have just started reading the interpretation by Sri Aurobindo on Agni, and what you speak really makes things alive for me. One thing I would like to understand is the practical side of it. How would you suggest me? I am a newbie in this. How to take it on a practical level in day to day?
When when you say practical, what you mean? Practice
Suppose
like yoga practice, sadhana or something?
no.
No.
The way you presented this shlok, this hymn right now, um, how should I put in application base for myself? Let's not talk about others. For myself, how to put it
Mm.
in application?
Yeah, well, First, if you are interested, study Sanskrit first. After Sanskrit is known well enough, then enjoy totally reading it in the light of Sri Aurobindo, because what it does, this is not just a poetry, it has a particular rhythm and power, mantric power, which is kind of changing your perception of things. It is not dealing with some kind of immediate practical solutions. It changes your consciousness, and you feel the presence is growing of various kind. You feel that you get another deeper understanding of things. Of course, to keep it and to develop it, it takes time. And it takes that fire in you. If you have that fire, if you nourish it, if you feed it constantly with offerings, if that fire is used by you, yes, that aspiration in you, and if you receive the answers, and then the answer is the grace we're coming to you. You could feel the presence, the pressure from above, or some presence which you cannot deny. It is very different in quality. But that presence I can call happiness. Yeah, it is not really happiness. It's not this excitement. It is
Yes.
something else.
So the beauty, what I have found is, I'm not a good reader at all. I have never
Mhm.
been an academic student at all. But when certain things are drawn, especially when I read the interpretation what Sri Aurobindo has written, though my mind doesn't still understand any of it, but it does call me again and again, and I go towards it, opening it, thinking I'm not going to understand. Why am I reading?
Yes, there is something there. And there is something in the Rig Veda which is interesting for us because it gives us a perspective. It gives us a historical depth, which we may see that Sri Aurobindo is not speaking something out of the blue or something he invented. Yeah, it was always there. It was waiting for its time, and it is now time for it to come back. And once the Rigveda comes back in that particular integral yoga vision, so to say, of Sri Aurobindo, then everything in between, you will be surprised that you will read Gita with different eyes. You will see much more than with the eyes of the Advaitin or the Buddhist or the Christian or whatever religious approach, because these are kind of particular interpretations, yes, which deviated from some universal vision of things. So we need Sri Aurobindo and we need the Rigveda, and everything in between will become for us a very joyful and journey. We would discover much more and would enjoy Gita. Gita for me reads totally different now after the Rig Veda or Upanishads, for example. You will see much more, which before was more metaphysical, like more sadhana related. Now it's more psychological. I must say the whole Indian tradition is psychological. It's not really about the gods. You see, there is no god here. There is Agni. There is the fire within you. There is an aspiration which is rising, which is leading us, which transforms us. Where gods are, he brings here the gods. What is God in the Indian tradition? Deva. Deva is from root div, to shine. This is the shining being, a shining presence, or full of light power. Yeah, that is Deva. Now, when we translate it into gods, many gods, it's already something else.
Okay, Gauri.
So if I have got it right, does Agni represents to the divine self? Means I just didn't get it. What is a Agni? That's it.
Agni is the first avatar, yeah, first who descended here, the immortal among mortals, who is constantly calling for immortal powers to create and transform our mortality into immortality. Immortality is another big concept, the central concept, central idea of the Rigveda, which later disappears and immortality becomes only the immortality of the soul. But the rishis speak about transformation of our nature, making that immortal, which we don't dare even to speak about nowadays.
Vinitji,
Of
you're
course,
not au- you're
I,
not
I,
audible. Yeah.
yeah, I can't answer all your questions. But believe me, it's not the answer. It's just more inspirational for you just to start studying this and looking for your own answers.
May I?
Yes, please.
Right. So you spoke about this process of making an offering instead of rejecting, some kind of a hindrance, for example. And you made a comment saying that, when you offer it to the light, you have to hold it there because it will try to escape, etc. I just need to understand that bit a little better, saying that what exactly is it that I am doing on the ground in terms of holding and this escaping? I mean, what is it that I'm really witnessing? I'm not able to fully understand.
Well, it's not a metaphysics. It's actually practical psychology. You try to do it, you will see that that thing which you will offer, which you cherished secretly in you, as your own desire or your own, fear, because it's cherished by you. Yeah. Otherwise, you would not keep it there. So it's hiding in the bushes. It's hiding in the dark corners. Now, when you pull it out to light, which you have to have light first of all. Yeah. Because if you pull it and there is no light, it doesn't help. So you have to have that presence in you when you are ready to do it, when you got fed up with all that already and you don't want to suffer it anymore, so to say. And if you try to hold it, you will see that it will try to escape. It will try to find in your mind some excuse. So, no, it's not time. I'm busy. I have to do this. I have to go to buy things. I have to call them where there is or anything of the kind. You will see how you will be clogged and veiled all the time in order for you not to do this offering. Or even if you catch it and hold it, you will feel, because if you do it, you know how it behaves. You would have to hold it quite long, that you would feel that it is changed. And it is sometimes very painful, because the certain long-standing desires, fears, anxieties are already used to be in our being. So to hold them for long enough for them to change, you would feel even pain from that. And if you can endure it, if you can go through it, if you would say, no, okay, I will go through it, because once pain starts, you may drop it, and it will run again into its a hiding corner, and then again it will come back to you. And even then, after offering and destroying it, changing it, not destroying, you're destroying the misuse, the abuse of it, the wrong context of it, the wrong application. And because the true being in it will be released into a proper way, even after that, there may be a kind of return. If you want it to come back, you will call for another similar type from the universal nature, because something in you wants it back. So you will draw another kind of force similar to it, kindred to it, and you will be kind of indulging again the same problem you have. Mother says about this in the ashram. People who wanted to get rid of things, and they came to her and she helped them. She just demolished the problem. But she says after 3-4 days, they call it back. They want it back. They don't want to be free from it. It became part of their identity. It's my pain, my trouble, my anxiety. It's me who is constantly very important to myself because I have this anxiety. I recognize myself as such. So to be able to change, to be able to transform oneself, one has to have this, first of all, aspiration. As Mother says, first of all, you have to want it. If you don't want it, it won't happen. Second, you have to aspire for it. And third, you have to offer it constantly.
Okay. Manan?
Namaste. This has been a very wonderful session. So I'm currently reading The Human Cycle of Sri Aurobindo, and he is talking about the various cycles of society and how from a symbolic age it kept on moving. And while when the Vedas were composed, they are full of symbolism, while we have a tendency to mentalize and intellectualize everything. So given that I myself experienced that trapping, that I tend to mentalize everything, otherwise it's very difficult for me to grasp any concept. What are the checks that I can keep in mind or be conscious of, so that I'm able to imbibe more of these texts? Because I'm also learning Sanskrit for the last 1 year, so I want
Lovely.
to kind of go deeper into this.
Wonderful. What I can tell you, you just read, open mind, seek for knowledge, yeah. Try to understand what Sri Aurobindo wants to say, not what he says, but what he presumes, what he is telling you, not in the words directly, but in the intention. Try to figure out what he intends to say. And you will discover the whole world, especially human cycle is a very powerful explanation of our journey of all the ages, and there is much to it. And believe me, it's an endless journey. I've read human cycle for the last, I do not know, 30 years. And recently I discovered understanding finally finally, I say it's not final at all. It's one of the understandings on the way, because it's a profound vision of reality. Sri Aurobindo has much more knowledge behind, and he puts it into the language which is suitable for human beings, mental beings, to understand it. Yeah, in terms of concepts. But behind it, there is something more, a vision. Subjective age, India's, for example, participation in creating of subjective age, individualist age, how it came into existence. Just look at it, how precisely and deeply he interprets. And it's a profound psychology of social development. He names the human cycle by this name originally. Psychology of social development. This is your psychology. Those who are in social psychology and educationally, you should read Human Cycle. Absolutely. It's a psychological book. Not history. It's not a historical book.
Mansi?
Hello.
Yeah,
Am
Mansi.
I, yeah. So I'm just trying to connect the dots between what Neeljedi told us in the afternoon session about observing, then dissociating or should not identify with something, and then going on to offering. So I'm trying to understand what she told and what you told today right now about offering the desires to the Agni. So it's similar, isn't it?
It's very similar, yes.
Yeah.
Because Agni is that psychic presence in us. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So Agni is the higher consciousness.
Right.
Yeah. So this was one, and the other one was, you said that desire is we need to kind of get away from the desire. We have to lose our desires, but this earning for knowledge is also a desire. This earning to know uh, the Gita or the Rigveda is again a desire of knowledge, isn't it? So how are we going to get away from
Get
the
rid.
desire? Yeah, so it's like contradicting.
Yeah, it's contradicting to the mind because mind yet didn't make a distinction between two movements, so aspiration and desire. Mother makes difference between aspiration and desire. Aspiration is very different in nature from desire.
Mm-hmm.
Desire is always, you will notice, and it is actually a very good thing for psychologists, you will notice that desire demands satisfaction immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
very urgent, now
Mm-hmm.
or never. Just now you have to do it,
Yeah.
otherwise everything collapses. It's the end of the world if you don't do it. Aspiration has no urgency. It's very different power. It always aspires very peacefully, very strongly. It can stay forever. It doesn't need satisfaction. It doesn't look for satisfaction. In aspiration, you are already in satisfaction. It's satisfaction by itself. Desire needs satisfaction, needs something to eat. Aspiration doesn't need food to eat. You can distinguish this very well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for this answer. It really makes sense now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ritu?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. Like how Divya introduced earlier, that you make Vedas alive. I was completely in a very different zone and I could feel it coming alive in me. And I just did not want you to stop. But then, yeah, the time was less. So I'm very grateful. And all my questions were dissolved apparently. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Yes, you see, the Rigveda for us is the teacher. You see, in the post-Vedic period, there are teachers, gurus coming, or Tantra, for example. You cannot read from the text and be in the state of higher consciousness. You need a guru who will tell you what to do, how to use mantras, what this symbolism means. Symbolism is hiding knowledge. Knowledge is not beaming through, not coming through the symbolism in Tantra. Very difficult to get it without the teacher. In the Veda, in the Rigveda, the mantra is the teacher. They left us the verses which can enlighten us without going to guru. You will find your inner light and you will consult your inner being. You will deal with your inner self from now on. And Rigveda is helping you, as one rishi says, I build this hymn as carpenter builds the chariot. Can you imagine carpenter building a chariot? So he built this hymn as carpenter builds the chariot to rise to heaven. So he sits on this chariot and rising to heaven. So this is the means. Rigveda is the means for us to rise to heaven. So you can do it. You don't need to go and look. You just read the hymn, go deeper into it, dwell on it. Not think and dwell and translate and meditate, and it will build slowly the vision. You will see the vision, and that vision changes your consciousness.
It was just like something is happening in the body. Like it was going in the mind, and also there was something in the body, and I could feel a constant upsurge of power, a very pure power. I don't know how to really define it.
Absolutely. And we do not know how to define these things, and we can't. Our mind is speechless, and it's okay. Let him be speechless, silent for a while, when the Veda speaks. And in that kind of cleansing of consciousness, we prepare ourselves to be more and more perceptive to the truths. And then we start distinguishing, we start seeing things in a different light. Great. Thank you.
Jyotirmai?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm feeling really grateful for this session. Really like listening to you, like Preetu said, all the questions just dissolved, and there's a certain illumination, and I really feel like you've offered a seed of light to us today, and I'm really, really feeling very grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We are all grateful to the Vedic rishis and the Veda that they left for us this treasure. By the way, this is the core of all Indian civilization. It is there from the beginning. It is that because of that India is India. Yes, all the literature we know, Upanishads, Brahmanas, Shastras, Sutra, the Tantras, Puranas, it is all built on this vision of unity and oneness.
Okay, I think that's all we had, Vladimir. To be honest, I have been waiting for this session from last 9 years to listen again. So
Yeah, wonderful.
it
We
is,
met again.
yeah, and it's the same feeling. It is amazing. Yeah. So
Thank you.
thank you very much. We'll definitely get back to you if any more questions pop up in the group. It's
Sure.
been really great having you with us, and we look forward.
Prashant,
Yeah.
if it's possible, can we have a session on the structure that Valdemir was talking to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You,
also
you s-
agree to this.
to
Yeah.
see how it happens in the structure, yes, what has happened here, how it is in the nutshell, the whole Rig Veda, yes. I discovered this long ago. We can do it, but essentially, of course, there's so much more that this structure is only one bit, one drop in the ocean, so, but still, it's good if you have time. Why not? We can have fun.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll catch up with you and then
Okay.
we'll try and see. Yeah. Okay. I think we end the session with a minute of silence, and the participants can stay back for a briefing. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste. Bye.
Namaste. Bye-bye. Thank you, Vladimir.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. It was a good day, I think. And yeah, you can, anyone can stay back here. You can have your discussions if you would like. And if there are any questions also, please jot it down. We'll bring in those people who can address them. If I can at least show them, okay, I have 6 questions, I can bring them for half an hour. So, okay. Otherwise, just keep going on your projects. You can ping Luca and Divya for their time, and we shall meet tomorrow again.
I have a question for Shan.
Yeah.
For the refreshers, do we also need to present the project?
If you are ready, it's your choice because you're also part of the group. Definitely, I mean, we would like to hear you out.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Prashant.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Prashant.
I wanted, is anybody there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Is anybody there still? Prashant, are you going to put recording of this, or there wasn't any?
Oh, just hold on. Yes, we will give those who have attended